Welcome to Everyday Living. I hope you learned something. Okay, so today we're going to talk about ferro rods or ferrocerium rods. I forget the makeup of these. They're basically an alloy. They're not flint. People often give these the misnomer. They call them flint and steel, but these are ferrocerium. There's no flint in these, and you don't have to use carbon steel for these. With a true flint and steel, you have to use carbon steel to get a spark because you're actually shaving off a piece of the steel with the flint is how you use a flint and steel, and then the carbon is what allows it to burn. So anyways, maybe I'll put a caption on what the composition of these ferro rods is. So first one I want to talk about is this little combo rod. It's kind of like a miniature survival one. It's the lightest one, it's the smallest one, and what you have is you've got this magnesium on one side, and you can take this, it's basically like a hacksaw blade almost, but it has to have a nice sharp edge on it, both for scraping the magnesium off and for striking the ferrocerium. But you can make a nice pile of magnesium. This magnesium lasts a long time, and typically you're only using the magnesium in an emergency situation anyhow. Usually you'd have some other form of fire starter, which we'll talk about in a second here. But so you're going to probably use at least twice the size of pile as that if you're really trying to start a fire, and then you'd have it on top of your tinder bundle and stuff. If you can find birds' nests and things like that, those work really great. They've usually got some soft fluffed up stuff in there. But then on the top here, maybe you can see there's most of this is magnesium, and that's a little ferro rod set into there. So you're going to use the blade and you're going to scrape. The best tip I can give you to go along with using ferro rods is you're not scraping like this. You're not moving the scraper, you're going to move the ferro rod, because if you're moving the scraper you might hit your tinder bundle and knock everything everywhere and maybe lose your opportunity to start your fire. So you're going to pull the rod out from it so that you're sending sparks in, but you're not throwing your hand into the pile there. Let's move on from that though, because I want to save that little bit of ferro that's on that. My next one is my Ultimate Survival Technologies Strike Force, and just comes together like that. It's got the built-in scraper and it's got the ferro rod right here. You see that rod's pretty big and it lasts a long time. I've actually used this quite a bit. So same technique, we're not scraping this way, we're scraping this way. We're holding this stationary, and my arm is anchored on my leg. If you're kneeling on the ground or wherever, you just anchor your forearm on your leg and then you hold this tight and pull this outwards. See if we can get this magnesium to go. Almost. Oh, got some stuff landing in it, but it's not lighting up. Oh, there it goes. So now if that magnesium's sitting on some tinder, it's going to start that tinder up because it burns really hot. You probably even want about twice the size pile that I have there if you were really trying to start a fire. Something else you can do is any cotton product. This is just a makeup remover pad. You can use cotton swabs. I like these because they're nice and compact to start. You can even use Q-tips. But all you do is take the cotton, fluff it up. The more you fluff it up, the more flame you're going to get. You can even kind of make a whole line out of it, but you would typically put this down as your base, and then you might take a stick and put it in the ground like this at an angle, and then you would pile your other kindling on top, alternating from side to side, so you have an opening on this end but you have sticks piled over it and you want to get it down pretty close and keep this right out at the entrance. That'll allow air under your fire, and you'll see this will start right up with probably the first spark. We'll see if I can make a spark, but there you go. Get fire right away. And even better is you can take this cotton, any cotton, and put some petroleum jelly in it. You could probably use just about any oil. The petroleum jelly burns cleaner and isn't runny when it's room temperature. So you just rub it into the cotton, you push it all the way through, saturate it, and then those will work even when they're wet in that case. Without the petroleum jelly, they will not work when they're wet. So the last one is going to be, this is just strictly a ferro rod. There's no striker implement that comes with this. You can use any knife though. As I said, you can even use stainless steel, which I believe this striker in the Strike Force piece is stainless steel. You can see that it's punched so that it has sharp edges down here, which gives it a good scraping edge. You need a good sharp scraping edge. You can use a knife blade, but I prefer not to dull my knives doing this. But same thing, you just pull, and you can see this rod is so long that I get lots of sparks from it. This thing's going to last forever. You can get these on eBay or Amazon. You can see that thing is literally about as big as my pinky. It's quite a bit bigger around than this rod is, and way longer. We got 3 times the length of the rod here. So they're well worth it. I can't even remember what I paid for it. But this is well worth it too. Everything in one. You can also, excuse me, sorry, I forgot, there's a compartment here in the end where you can store your fire starting implements. This is a wet fire made by the same company. It's kind of like those fuel pellets you would use for an Esbit stove, but it just kind of hides in the back end there. You can put cotton in there too. I've actually stuffed cotton down inside here that I can shake out when I need to, or I use a stick. I used the skewer earlier to get some out, but I keep some cotton stuff down in there just in case, just as extra precautions. That doesn't have Vaseline in it, but you could put Vaseline on it. And again, I like it because it's orange. It's going to be hard to lose, and it's all one unit here. You just kind of cinch it up and it doesn't pull apart. So I like them all for their own reasons. If I had to only carry one, I would carry this one. It hasn't let me down. I light all my camp stoves with these. They're the best way to light camp stoves. I light the campfires with this. This thing is going to outlast any lighter. It's going to outlast an entire box of Strike Anywhere matches, the big boxes I mean. And it is going to work when it's wet. It is going to work when it's windy. This is going to start a fire for you if you really need to start a fire, as long as you have the right tinder and kindling to get it going. But even if you have a lighter and you don't have the right tinder and kindling, or everything's soaking wet, you're in trouble anyhow. So I like to have both of these, but if I had to just carry one, it would be that. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something today.